Would you guys believe me if I told you that a midfielder who couldn't outrun most of the players lining up against him became the one guy that four completely different managers, Rafa Benitez, Jose Mourinho, Carlo Ancelotti, and Pep Guardiola, all built their teams around? Four coaches who barely agreed on anything tactically, and every single one of them handed the keys to the same guy. When most people picture Xabi Alonso as a player, they picture the calm guy in the middle of the pitch, pinging 50-yard passes around like it's nothing, never sprinting, never panicking, just quietly running the game. But little do y'all know, underneath that calm exterior was one of the most debated and genuinely fascinating careers in modern football. A guy who, by most physical standards, shouldn't have been able to compete at the level he did, but ended up being trusted by literally every elite manager he ever played under. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how good Xabi Alonso actually was as a player, what made him special, where he actually fell short, and whether the legend label people throw around is fully earned. Let's go back to the beginning. Xabi Alonso Olano was born November 25, 1981 in Tolosa, in Spain's Basque country, and this wasn't some kid discovering football on his own. It was basically in his blood. His father, Perico Alonso, had been a professional midfielder himself, playing for both Real Sociedad and Barcelona. Growing up around that, young Xabi wasn't just kicking a ball around for fun, he was absorbing the game at a level most kids never get access to. He came through Real Sociedad's academy and made his first team debut in 1999, and almost immediately scouts noticed something different about him. He wasn't the quickest guy on the pitch, he wasn't going to dribble past three defenders, but he saw passes before other players even knew they existed. In 2004, Liverpool paid around £10 million to bring him to Anfield under Rafa Benitez, and this is where the legend really starts. 5 seasons at Liverpool, and it's basically impossible to have a conversation about that era without bringing up one single night in Istanbul in 2005. Liverpool were down 3-0 at halftime in the Champions League final against an AC Milan side loaded with Maldini, Nesta, Kaká, and Shevchenko. The comeback that followed is still considered one of the greatest in the sport's history, and Alonso was right in the center of it, scoring the equalizer off a rebound after his own penalty got saved, a penalty he'd never even taken before as a professional. Liverpool won it on penalties. A year later, he added another moment to the highlight reel, scoring from inside his own half against Newcastle at Anfield, a goal so ridiculous the BBC called it one of the most audacious strikes in the stadium's entire history. By the time he left Liverpool in 2009, Alonso wasn't just a good midfielder anymore, he was one of the most respected passers in world football. In 2009, Real Madrid brought him home to Spain, and this is where his reputation as a tactical chess piece really solidified. Under Jose Mourinho starting in 2010, Alonso was deployed as a deep-lying playmaker inside a counter-attacking machine, sitting just in front of the back line, breaking up opposition attacks, then instantly switching play with one pass to launch Ronaldo or Di Maria into space. Mourinho once compared him directly to Xavi Hernandez, calling him a metronome, someone who already thought like a coach while he was still playing. Under Alonso's influence, Real Madrid put together a famous 100-point La Liga season and won a Copa del Rey final where his pinpoint long balls set up the winning goal. In 2014, Real Madrid finally won La Décima, their 10th Champions League title, a trophy the entire club had been chasing for 12 years. And here's a detail most casual fans don't even know. Alonso was suspended for that final after picking up a yellow card in the semi-final against Bayern Munich. He built the run, he was central to nearly every knockout game that got them there, and then he had to watch the actual trophy get lifted from the stands. That's not a small footnote, that's genuinely one of the cruelest ironies in the guy's whole career. Then, in the summer of 2014, at 32 years old, when most midfielders are already on the decline, Alonso joined Bayern Munich to play under Pep Guardiola, and instead of slowing down, he somehow got more efficient. Guardiola once said plainly that if they'd signed Alonso to chase opponents around the pitch, he'd be the worst player in the world. But they signed him to dominate the ball, and once Xabi had it, he was the best player on the field. Guardiola built Bayern's entire possession structure around him as what people started calling a deep-lying quarterback, and Alonso delivered, winning the Bundesliga in all 3 of his seasons in Germany and setting a Bundesliga record for the most passes completed in a single match, 196 of them against Cologne. Jurgen Klopp, the manager who lost him from Liverpool years earlier, went on record wondering out loud whether Real Madrid had actually made a mistake letting him leave for Bayern in the first place. On the international stage, Alonso was just as central. He was a key piece of Spain's golden generation, winning Euro 2008, the 2010 World Cup, and Euro 2012, 3 consecutive major international trophies with the national team, a run almost no country in football history has ever matched. When he retired from international duty, Spain's own manager at the time, Vicente del Bosque, said it would be nearly impossible to improve on what Alonso had already accomplished for the national team. Now, here's the part that gets glossed over whenever people list off his trophies. Alonso genuinely had real limitations as a player, and it's not just nitpicking, it's the same critique that followed him his entire career. He lacked real pace. He wasn't built to chase down quick wingers or track back into open space against fast counterattacks, and there were stretches, particularly late in his career, where sharper attacking teams could isolate him and expose that gap. That's exactly why Mourinho stationed him so deep and so central, to hide that weakness inside a defensive structure rather than ask him to cover ground he simply couldn't cover anymore. And here's the detail that might surprise you the most. For a player who basically every elite manager he worked under called world-class, Alonso never once finished inside the top 3 of the Ballon d'Or, and he barely features in most casual greatest midfielders ever conversations that fans have online, conversations that usually go straight to Xavi, Iniesta, or Pirlo instead. The guy who ran the midfield for 4 Champions League winning campaigns and 3 straight international trophies has somehow become one of the most underrated names in that entire discussion, mostly because his brilliance was never loud. It was never a step-over or a 30-yard screamer every week. It was a completely silent kind of dominance that only the people actually playing against him seemed to fully respect. So, how good was Xabi Alonso actually as a pure player, no manager talk involved? If you're judging by trophies alone, it's not really a debate. Champions League titles with 2 different clubs, a World Cup, back-to-back European championships, and Bundesliga titles in every single season he played in Germany. That's one of the most stacked honors lists of anyone from his entire generation. If you're judging by pure individual talent and physical gifts, he wasn't the most complete midfielder ever. He had real, exploitable weaknesses that 4 different world-class managers all had to actively design around. But if you're judging by the hardest metric of all, whether elite coaches with completely different footballing philosophies all independently decided he was worth building their entire midfield around, then Alonso passes that test better than almost anyone in the last 20 years of the sport. And that's really the whole story here. A guy who by most traditional measures shouldn't have been elite level for as long as he was, who had a genuine hole in his game that never fully closed, somehow became the single constant in the middle of the park for Rafa Benitez's chaos, Mourinho's counter-attacking machine, Ancelotti's balance, and Guardiola's possession obsession. 4 completely different footballing philosophies, one guy trusted by all of them. That's not luck. That's one of the most complete footballing brains this sport has ever produced, wrapped inside a body that honestly had no business keeping up with it for as long as it did.